Video game parody animations are kind of a relic of the past when it comes to internet culture. Like, they are still around, but if you weren't chronically online from around 2014 to 17, you would have absolutely no idea how many YouTube channels around that time were just making video game parody animations. For whatever reason, everybody wanted to make a dark, fricked up version of their favorite video game characters back then. We had YouTubers like Mashed, Flashgits.
Hello!
Whoa, you speak?
I'm not retarded, Ash.
Oh.
Smash Bits, Hot Diggity Demon, Pymations.
I'm gonna need more power to take down something like that. How on earth am I supposed to get more power around here? I sure am glad all the Chaos Emeralds were around here.
And even Egoraptor before he, you know. Some of these guys have even evolved and reworked their content to fit more finely into the modern YouTube algorithm, like Hot Diggity Demon and his video essay series Brain Dump, or Egoraptor, who completely disowned the animator title and is now just considered a voice actor and co-host of Game Grumps. All while some of them still do the whole video game parody thing to this day. Channels like Flashgits and Smash Bits come to mind. Both of these channels still make video game parodies, and they even get decent reception, though it pales in comparison to their former successes like racist Mario. But there is one of these video game parody channels that still lives rent-free in my mind to this day, and they're called Lowbrow Studios. Lowbrow Studios is an animation studio that makes short video game parody animations on YouTube. They also made their own original little shorts, but I mainly know them for the video game videos.
I'm sure you're just as delicious. What are you, double chocolate? Nougat?
Ginger walnut.
Ew, what the f***?
He started saying like, you know, he didn't choose to be a chocolate person, you know, he's just born that way. But then I said, hey, yeah, you did choose to be a chocolate person, okay? You chose to be a chocolate person.
They typically work for other channels like Dorkly and College Humor / Dropout, but also do their own thing on their own YouTube channel. Looking back on their channel, I think it's kind of funny how these guys got so popular back in the day. In terms of video game parodies, these are as formulaic and predictable as they come.
Bowser, good to see you! Hey, Jerry! How's everything going at the gun factory, huh? Great, you know, just working on a new batch.
Most of them boil down to just pointing out a trope in a game, calling it stupid, and that's about it. I mean, they have an entire series which is literally just a guy calling video game villains stupid for complicating their schemes. When they aren't doing that joke, they have the old reliable what if X was in Y premise that they resort to a lot. So yeah, not the most entertaining cartoons, but they were doing something right because everyone who was on the internet around that time knew who these guys were. At first they mainly did one-off parodies, like what if the Koopa got the power-up instead of Mario, or what if Ganon had an assistant that criticized everything he did. But one day Lowbrow released what I consider to be their magnum opus. Sonic for Hire. Yes, I consider this their magnum opus. Really puts the quality of their cartoons into perspective, huh? Alright, so before I actually get into what Sonic for Hire is about, let me give you a little history lesson real quick, because the show actually plays off of some real world events, kinda, sorta. A little bit, tiny, just a small bit. Sonic for Hire came out around the time that the Sonic franchise was at its lowest point. Sure, Sonic Generations had just come out, but the fans were still reeling after years of mediocre and just downright unfinished video games. Sonic 06, Sonic 4, Secret Rings, Black Knight, and Unleashed all came out back to back. People genuinely thought Sonic was done. And people genuinely thought Sonic was done for around that time. I just wanted to establish that real quick for the people who didn't know, because Sonic for Hire pretty much relies on you knowing that for its premise to work. Anyway, with that out of the way, why don't we take a look at this series that I used to watch as a kid and see if Sonic for Hire still holds up. Sonic for Hire follows, who would have guessed it, Sonic. I did this joke in the Knuckles video. Whatever. As he's down on his luck after a string of horrible video games and investing all of his money in Dreamcast stock, which has all left him completely broke, living in a dingy apartment all by himself. So with the help of Tails, who purposely screwed him out of all of his money, Sonic goes around to other games to do odd jobs to make some extra cash to get by and pay his rent. It's a fairly simple premise that lends itself greatly to the short-form weekly upload schedule that they had at the time. Each episode basically has Sonic Sonic go to a different game, get given a task, screw it up horribly, and get his comeuppance in the end. The series begins super episodic and simple at first, but strangely as the show goes on, it starts bringing in more serialized elements, and after a while it straight up just feels like a different show. It legit just turns into one long movie in the end, and because of this I thought it'd be fun to go through the series season by season and take a look at how the show evolves and maybe even improves as it goes along. And now, with that very long-winded intro out of the way, let's get right into Sonic for Hire Season 1. Season 1 of Sonic for Hire basically follows the aforementioned format to a T. Sonic needs cash, so Tails helps him go around and find odd jobs to do in other games, and in the process he usually either kills the main character of said game, accidentally or intentionally, gets himself injured or incapacitated in some way, or steals something from the game he visited for that episode. Surprisingly, despite its formulaic nature, it never becomes too predictable or boring. In pretty much every episode, they put some sort of spin on the formula, like in the Punch-Out episode, which puts Sonic in a boxing match against Mike Tyson. And naturally, Sonic gets the crap beat out of him, but since Tails bet against Sonic, they end up leaving with a bunch of money they got from the fight. And Sonic being Sonic, he ultimately wastes all of their money on a picture frame for his Dominique Wilkins poster.
Nah, I decided it's time to grow up, you know? So I took that money and made a little investment.
Hey, good for you, man.
Yeah, I bought a sweet new frame for my poster.
Then there's the Q*bert episode, where Sonic barely interacts with Q*bert at all, and instead runs into Eggman, who subsequently becomes a recurring character and appears in multiple episodes after that.
Save your apologies till after I pull this big worm out of my back seat.
Okay, now you're just being ridiculous.
Along with Eggman, in terms of recurring characters that get introduced, we also got Earthworm Jim, who teams up with Eggman to try and kill Sonic after Sonic takes his suit. We've also got Mother Brain, who winds up having an illegitimate daughter with Sonic, named Sonequa. We also meet Kirby, who's a murderous psychopath. And last, but certainly not least, Thunderhead, who's a sex-obsessed lunatic. Literally none of these characters act at all like how they do in their respective games, and I think it's hilarious. Kirby being a psychopathic god of destruction is a joke everyone has done before, but making Thunderhead mega freaky was a stroke of genius. I can't explain it, but it just fits him perfectly. Like, the guy just looks like a freak. I can't explain it.
Come stay with us. You will forever live like kings and...
What the f***, man? We were gonna live like kings!
Yeah, there wasn't gonna be enough ass wine for everybody, so, you know, I made an executive decision.
And Earthworm Jim being the straight man of the group is a funny juxtaposition compared to how groovy he is in his own franchise.
I need you to dig down deep and suck like you've never sucked before. I want you to miss those tackles, drop those balls, and let that other team jam their cleats straight up our cheating loser assholes. Now who's with me?
There's like 2 seconds left on the clock.
Plan B.
The humor of this season is actually surprisingly strong for what it is. Obviously there are quite a few misses, like whatever that Jamie Lee Curtis joke was.
Just go outside and have sex with yourself already, Jamie Lee Curtis.
What?
Supposedly she was born a hermaphrodite.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's one of those urban legend type deals, you know. I keep meaning to check it on Snopes, but it's not that high on my priority list. I think she sells diarrhea yogurt right now.
Okay.
Considering what else they have made in the past, it's surprised me how many times I've genuinely laughed at some of these jokes. Like this Toe Jam and Earl bit.
Dude, what the f*** are you talking about? You dropped acid like 4 days ago and just wandered off.
Wait. No, you got me that job capturing humans with Toe Jam and Earl. Guys, back me up here.
Yeah, garbage bag and busted chair. Do you have anything to add? No?
Or this bit in the Oregon Trail episode.
Well, maybe if Magellan up there didn't spend every cent we had on 60 wagon tongues, we could have got ourselves a new one.
I tell you what I like a new one of.
Oh, you're saying you want a new one of me? Get over here! I want to kiss you. Listen, woman. Hey, watch it now, text box. I got 5 bullets left. You better get that story straight. Now that's more like it.
A lot of the large-scale gags they set up work pretty well, but anytime they make any sort of pop culture reference, it falls flat on its face, and it really just dates the entire series quite a bit. They also fall into those stereotypical video game jokes that everyone has done a billion times, like the aforementioned Kirby is a psychopath bit. They even do the whole thing where it's like, this deeply beloved game has a really weird and disturbing premise when you think about it, and it's just like, okay. I mean, back when the show was being made, these were all pretty unique and new ideas, so I don't really blame them for going this route, but it's just like rewatching it, some of these are things that I've seen a million times already, and it's just kind of boring. I do like the jokes that they do make in some of these episodes, but whenever they try to do that kind of thing with the whole video game is stupid, haha, let's make fun of it joke, it just falls flat sometimes. The presentation for this show is actually pretty good, I think. The show is animated in Flash and uses character sprites from the games that are featured, which could come off as lazy if done poorly, but I think the show manages to make it look nice. The movements of the characters are really smooth, and the facial animation is actually really expressive, especially considering how limiting sprite animation can be. I think it's really impressive how expressive some of these characters are. I think it really shows with Eggman. They used the Robotnik sprite from the original Sonic the Hedgehog, and in that game, Robotnik wasn't very expressive at all, so when animating him, they basically had to create entirely new sprites for his face to make lip syncing possible. They also, removed his pants. Lowbrow even had to make entirely new sprites for some of the characters, like Earthworm Jim. In this show, Earthworm Jim has an entirely unique sprite that isn't seen anywhere else. They do sometimes switch to a pre-existing sprite of him just for specific animations of him tiptoeing or something, but most of the time it's a unique sprite. So yeah, despite looking super simple, I think the animation looks pretty nice. Originally, I wasn't going to talk about the voice acting all that much, but the voice acting here is surprisingly impressive. The voice actors they got on this thing know exactly how absurd and stupid this series is, and it shows perfectly in their performances. Everyone delivers their lines with a particular tone, and it works perfectly for the vibe of the series. Sonic sounds extremely sarcastic and just fed up with everything, and it leads to a lot of really funny moments.
It's like gym class. I'm talking double void. Spike that.
Those are just random words, right?
Maybe.
You're a f***ing idiot.
Like, he's not even saying funny things, but the way he's saying it, it makes me giggle. It also shocked me to find out that this show only had like 3 or 4 cast members, because no one character sounds the same as another. Like, just look at all the characters Mike Parker plays. My man voices over half the cast. It's really impressive. Overall, season 1 is a pretty decent start for the show. The premise lends itself really nicely to the weekly upload structure they were running at the time. The comedy is decently good, especially compared to what was out at around that time. The sprite animation looks pretty good, and the voice acting is great. Like, it definitely has that early 2010s style of humor, but it doesn't feel very dated at all. Jamie Lee Curtis hermaphrodite joke withstanding, I still enjoy this season quite a bit, and think it's a good start to what will soon become one of the weirdest and most interesting stories I have ever experienced. Sonic for Hire Season 1 concludes with a cliffhanger where Sonic gets turned into an eggplant with no real way of turning back to normal. With seemingly no way of fixing this, he returns home and wastes away on the couch, doomed to live inside of an eggplant for the rest of his life. Oh, also Tails got in a car accident off screen and was stuck in a coma for about a month. I forgot to mention that. Now, how will our heroes get themselves out of this sticky situation? Let's find out in the next season of Sonic for Hire. Well, Sonic is still an eggplant. Tails has finally woken up from his coma, but with Sonic still stuck inside of an eggplant, the two of them can't really do anything. So, after months of just lying around not doing anything, Sonic finally goes to the hospital to see if they can fix him, which they actually managed to do perfectly fine. I don't know if they had some sort of antidote or something, but he's not an eggplant no more. After this, Season 2 continues with the same formula as Season 1. Sonic goes to a different game, do odd jobs, you know the process. Up until Episode 7, where Sonic gets thrown into prison for a hockey fight, forcing Tails to borrow some money from the Mafia to bail Sonic out.
100 grand is pretty steep for a hockey fight.
Well, I might have gotten a little carried away.
Get a taste of the Zamboni pony!
Nice job, retard.
Which naturally leads to Sonic having to do jobs for the mob boss to make up for the money they used, once again causing chaos in the process. And if you haven't guessed already, Mario is the mob boss. Did you get it, guys? Because Mario is Italian and the Mafia is also Italian? Season 2 feels a lot more well put together than the first one. It does follow the same formula for the first half, and even after Sonic starts working for the Mafia, he's still doing the same kind of thing, just for a different reason. But this season introduces this really cool thing called
an overarching narrative.
I know, it's a very novel concept. Sure, it's a super simple narrative. Sonic the Hedgehog working for the Mafia, which is run by Super Mario, isn't exactly Shakespearean, but it's only the beginning of what will soon become a really fun and interesting story. This season's writing is actually a lot better than the first one, I think. It still has the same kind of video gamey humor, but after a while, the writers stopped making fun of the tropes of video games all the time. A lot of the humor in this season is dialogue based, with every character giving really snarky remarks all the time. They also start leaning into more running gags here too. Like with the stupid nicknames Sonic gives Mario, which Mario obviously dislikes at first, but after a while Mario starts warming up to them and begins pressuring Sonic to give him more new nicknames.
What? Mario doesn't get a nickname this week. Fine, I'll do it myself. Mario, hey, Mario,
This is also where they start fleshing out the characters of Sonic and Tails more. In Season 1, they honestly felt like the same character at times, but here they start mixing up their dynamic a lot. Sonic is now a bit more of a naive idiot, with a do now, think later kind of attitude. Meanwhile, Tails is honestly just the same as he was in the first season, just really snarky and tired of everyone. But now that they each have their own unique personalities, the interactions between Tails and Sonic have actually gotten a lot more funnier.
Oh, you're fine with him killing me earlier, but the poster is where he's crossed the line?
Yeah, I value the poster more than your life. I tell you this all the time.
I hate you. I'm glad you're gonna die.
This season also marks the first time the show experiments with other animation styles, having Sonic go into the game Angry Birds for an episode where he kills the titular Angry Birds. It's not much, and it doesn't look that great, but it is a nice attempt at least. Other than that, the animation looks pretty much identical to the first season. The characters' movements do look a bit more bouncy at times, which is a nice touch, but it does more or less look exactly the same. Despite how it may seem, Season 2 is a much more self-contained experience compared to Season 1. I mentioned earlier that Season 1 introduced a buttload of recurring characters that kept appearing over the course of the show, but they barely appear in Season 2. Eggman and Jim appear a few times and are just friends with Sonic now. I guess they made up off screen or something. But other than that, and a scene I'll go into a little bit later, a majority of the time it's just Sonic and Mario. Luigi does show up for a second, but
I'm on top of the world, Sonic! I'm on top of the world!
If I'm being honest, I actually kind of like this change. Like in Season 1, there was a lot of Sonic and Tails bickering, or Eggman would show up and bother Sonic, but now we get to spend a whole season with this brand new dynamic, which is really fun to see. Sonic's snarky naivete clashes perfectly with Mario's stoic seriousness, and it's really interesting to see Sonic push Mario to his limits until Mario eventually tries to kill Sonic.
Shing.
Whoa! Since when do you carry a knife?
What am I supposed to do? Jump on your head? It's a knife. I'm gonna stab you with it.
Which then leads naturally into the finale, that culminates in a big fight between the two. Sonic for Hire Season 2, for the most part, is an episodic romp much like Season 1, up until the Frogger episode, in which Sonic has to assassinate Frogger because he keeps blocking up traffic. And to make sure Sonic gets the job done properly, Mario sends Luigi off to watch over him. Well, while they're on the job, Luigi ends up getting ran over and killed. For a little bit, Sonic and Tails manage to hide it from Mario.
Oh yeah, everything went great. And Luigi definitely didn't get murdered by a truck, right, Luigi?
Oh, yeah. Everything went as smooth as Mama's pizza raviola natini. Oh, I miss a ravioli niti.
But sooner or later, Mario finds out, and wrangles up all of the enemies Sonic has made over the course of the series, and shows up at his house to kill him. Along with that, all of Sonic's friends show up to try and save him, because they knew Mario was gonna kill him somehow. An epic battle breaks out, which culminates in a chase sequence between Sonic and Mario, which then ends with Mario getting impaled on some spikes, finally killing Mario once and for all, making Sonic the new Don of the Mafia family.
Alright, so what's your first order of business?
Well, I figured since Poster was destroyed, I'd find a suitable replacement. So I found Dominique Wilkins and had him frozen in carbonite.
This should be interesting.
I really like this whole sequence. It takes what is usually a super episodic series and basically turns it into a little movie. It gives the show a bit more substance and makes you actually want to keep coming back for every episode, especially if you were watching these as they were coming out. You have no idea how excited I was when I saw this stupid cliffhanger as a kid. I would come home every day and check YouTube to see if the next episode came out, because I didn't understand how subscribing to YouTube channels worked back then. Anyway, I think Season 2 is a big step up from Season 1. It follows the same base formula still, but it also adds a bit more serialization with an overarching narrative, which gives the whole experience a bit more of a structure. And frankly, I can't wait to see what kind of shenanigans Sonic gets up to while being a mob boss. So let's get right into Season 3. Sonic for Hire Season 3 is probably the most interesting season so far. The first season was entirely episodic. Season 2 had hints of serialization, but Season 3 is where the show becomes completely serialized. Each episode naturally leads into the next one, creating a long and continuous narrative that spans throughout the entire season. And that said narrative is really stupid. Season 3 starts pretty much exactly where Season 2 left off. Sonic is now the mafia boss and no longer needs to do odd jobs to get by. Despite this, neither Sonic nor Tails know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. So Sonic has basically spent the past 6 months relaxing on the beach and getting lead poisoning.
What have you been drinking?
Lead?
So the two set out to find Princess Peach to see if she could give them any pointers on how Mario ran things. But when Peach proves to be useless, they settle for the next best thing, Princess Potato, who tells them Mario planned on robbing Casino Zone. The rest of the season basically follows the gang planning the heist, and subsequently executing the heist horribly and ruining everything.
Sonic, we ran into a little snafu.
I wouldn't worry about it. I got caught like 20 minutes ago.
Season 3 is definitely the best season we've looked at thus far. The serialization really helps it stand out and makes it a lot more fun to rewatch. It gives the series much more substance and makes it feel less like a stupid video game parody. The fact that the plot is absolutely absurd also helps it stand out. Watching Sonic plan a bank heist with Eggman, Earthworm Jim, Kirby, and the Noid is so stupid. It always cracks me up. Despite becoming more serialized, it never starts to take itself too seriously, which I really appreciate. The show never forgets how stupid the premise is, and it really helps elevate the comedy. Speaking of comedy, the jokes in this season are great. The season goes for more absurdist humor this time around, and I think it's the funniest the show has been so far.
So all we need are some disguises, and we're good as gold.
You can leave that up to Mr. Disguise himself.
Hello, you've reached Mr. Disguise. I'm away from the phone right now, so please leave.
Damn it, straight to voicemail.
Sonic for Hire really excels when it leans more into the absurdity of its premise rather than trying to be a cynical take on video game culture. Like, halfway through the vault heist, Sonic gets kidnapped by Shredder and ends up partnering up with him to make an ice skating musical called Sonic on Ice. It's so over the top and goofy, I love it. They even end up having a run-in with Darth Vader at some point and are forced to play a game of Family Feud against Vader and a bunch of stormtroopers. This season is a wild ride.
I've been waiting for you, Sonic.
Waiting where? Oh, was I supposed to pick you up from soccer practice or something?
The animation in this season looks even better than it did in season 2, which is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, like, I would assume as they refine the style and get better at their craft, the show would start looking nicer, but I still feel like it's worth noting. The characters have a lot more bounce in them, and overall, they just move more than they used to, which makes it feel a lot more lively. Season 3 as a whole just feels a lot higher in quality than the last 2 seasons. The animation is better, the writing is great, and the story is extremely fun and gives the season a unique identity compared to the other video game parodies. I really like Season 3 and think it's a really fun watch. It especially starts to pick up near the end. After the Casino Zone heist, the stress of being a mob boss starts getting to Sonic, so he takes a break to try and wind down. But in doing so, he ends up getting mauled by the dog from Duck Hunt and put in the hospital. While Sonic is recovering, Tails takes his spot as the crime lord and actually does a really good job. But after Sonic gets out of the hospital, Tails refuses to back down, so they have a big fight, which ultimately ends with Tails blowing up all of Sonic's cash, leaving Sonic at rock bottom once again. With Sonic ending up right back where he started, I'm really curious how the next season will play out. I'm sure it won't end up being the most controversial season of the show or anything. Let me get this out of the way right now. Everybody hates Season 4. If you thought the series had pretty mean-spirited humor before, you have no idea what's in store for this season. Sonic for Hire Season 4 begins with Sonic back where he started, broke, lonely, and hooked on crack.
Well, at least I still got my moped.
This should buy me some great crack.
Meanwhile, Tails is living the dream. After blowing up all of Sonic's cash, Tails used the leftover money to make a new video game.
Is this Battle? It's fucking Battle!
Which was a smash hit, and it instantly made Tails one of the richest people on the planet, which turns him into a douchebag who listens to MIDI covers of Barbie Girl.
Well, really, Tails, that's great to hear. You deserve it. Can I take your order?
He's always spending his time rubbing his newfound fame in Sonic's face, which I guess kinda makes sense based on how horribly Sonic treated him back in Season 1 and 2, but in Season 3 they actually kinda acted like friends for the most part, so going from that to this kinda feels weird. Like, in the other seasons there was always banter between them, but Sonic was clearly the meaner one most of the time, but Tails usually did end up getting the upper hand every now and then. While here, Tails just berates Sonic over and over again, and after a while it just starts getting mean-spirited and really just kinda gets boring. I can't tell if it's the thing where they want you to feel bad for Sonic, because if it is, it's not successful. Every single time, Tails shows up, insults Sonic, calls him a loser or whatever, blasts obnoxious music from his car, then runs someone over, and Sonic moves on with his day. It would also help if we, didn't already do the whole Sonic is at rock bottom and needs to do odd jobs for cash plot. We've already done this thing for 2 whole seasons, so it feels weird how they went back to square one for Season 4 instead of continuing to change the formula up. There is a pretty funny gag about how Sonic has already messed up all the other games, so the only ones that are left are old Atari games, but they don't stick to that for very long, and he ends up going to games like Scribblenauts and Mario Kart, which, if you somehow don't know, Neither of them are on the Atari. If I'm being honest, there isn't really much to talk about with this season. They kind of just retread what they did in season 1, but they did it in a much worse and less interesting way. The season as a whole isn't very funny or entertaining until the end. The ring-a-ding-dong joke kind of cracks me up a little bit.
And settle down somewhere nice and quiet.
Oh, that. I'm gonna let this ride on Dreamcast stock. Ring-a-ding-dong!
And the Mega Man dies at the end reference was nice, but I really have nothing else to say about this one. About 2/3 of the way through, Sonic gets invited by Kirby to be a part of a movie with Tails, and so the rest of the season follows them working on it. It's a cute little sequence, but since it starts off so late into the season, they don't have enough time to fully explore this concept. I really think they should have done this movie thing from the start of the season. If not the start, then at least do it halfway through, because by the time they start filming the movie, there's like 2 episodes left. There's not enough time to fully explore the idea of them making a movie. Seeing Sonic and Tails make a movie together is a really fun concept, but they don't nearly get enough time to do anything with it. Until the very last episode, where it's revealed the whole movie was a scheme thought up by Sonic to blow up the theater, killing Tails in the process and getting revenge for all the hell he's gone through this season. Well, naturally, the plan falls through and the two of them get blasted into outer space and abducted in a spaceship, ending the season on a cliffhanger. Yeah, season 4 kinda sucks. I don't think I'd really call it terrible, but it's definitely the worst season so far. It just retreads the same kind of stuff season 1 did, but worse, and it also turns Tails into a really unlikable douchebag. I know that this segment is really short compared to the others, but there's really not much to talk about here, because season 4 all around is just really boring and forgettable. Though, I do remember the next one being my second favorite as a kid, so I'm pretty excited to rewatch it. So now, let's get right into season 5, Sonic for Hire
in Space!
Oh yeah, season 5 was definitely one of my favorites as a kid. I've always loved sci-fi themed plots. I don't mean typical sci-fi stuff like Star Wars or Star Trek. I'm mainly referring to plots about inexperienced idiots going to space or traveling through time. It's just so funny to me seeing complete morons going so far out of their element and causing chaos, while also sometimes making fun of typical sci-fi tropes. That's why I love movies like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. The concept of 2 idiots getting sent to space through a mishap and just getting in the way of actual astronauts is just too funny to me, and I think you can understand why I'm bringing this kind of stuff up. Sonic for Hire Season 5 begins right where Season 4 left off, with Sonic and Tails getting abducted by a UFO. And right off the bat, I love this by the way, Sonic sets the record straight and makes sure Tails knows he's the one in charge again. It's kinda stupid that Tails just does a complete 180 here and isn't a douchebag anymore. Like, literally nothing happened to make him switch up, he just kinda switches back to being the punching bag again, but the bit is funny, so I don't really care.
I say we cook up that fat f***er Eggman into a frittata.
Yeah, I'll be like a lion and eat the genitals first.
Whoa! What?
It's soon revealed that Sonic and Tails have boarded the Great Fox from Star Fox. The remaining members of Star Fox, Peppy and Slippy, ask Sonic and Tails for help because their leader, Fox McCloud, is missing. So Sonic and Tails accept and spend the season basically doing Fox's job, taking missions from the General Cornelius Pepper until he inevitably returns. I absolutely love Cornelius, by the way. His reactions to Sonic and Tails' hijinks always cracks me up.
Hi, Space Dog. Important question. Do you have any food? We sent that frog to go get some like 3 hours ago.
You sent the frog out? Yeah, he's not coming back. You probably shouldn't have done that.
The premise of this season is pretty simple, but I really like it. It's just another excuse to have Sonic & Co. go into other video games and wreak havoc, but now with this whole space theme, we get to see more characters and environments that we wouldn't have seen otherwise. We get games like the aforementioned Star Fox, we get Blaster Master, Asteroids, StarCraft, we even get to see Sparkster. I mean, who remembers Sparkster?
Who's that?
Oh, that's Sparkster. He's a possum knight.
That's pretty dumb.
Oh, I know, yeah, it's not something normal, like a blue hedgehog or a two-tailed fox or a talking worm. Dipshits.
It's less of a serialized story than season 3 or 4, but I think it's a nice change of pace, especially compared to how boring the last season was. Season 5 is way more entertaining than season 4. The humor here is top notch. Like in the past, the show was entertaining and had quite a few good jokes, but there are multiple noteworthy bits here that genuinely make me laugh out loud.
Go to hell, copper!
No!
This season leans even further into the absurdist humor from season 3, and I think it's hilarious. Not every joke lands, of course, but a majority of them are really good.
Puke thigh talker! You old bantha
You hit up Mos Eisley last night.
Nope, I had sex with some sand. You?
I haven't mentioned it in a while because the cast hasn't expanded past the same few characters or voice actors, but the voice acting in this season is really good. This season introduces a lot of new characters to the main cast, and each and every one of them has amazing voice acting. I don't know who the voice actors are, but the people who do Slippy, Peppy, Fox, and Falco do an amazing job. Fox and Falco don't sound anything like they do in their games. They just have really funny voices, and their delivery on some lines is just phenomenal.
Come on, Sonic. No more f***ing around. Why don't we settle this thing like real fighter pilots?
Shirtless beach volleyball! I call Slider.
I'd call Iceman.
And on the other hand, Peppy and Slippy genuinely sound exactly like how they do in Star Fox. It's really impressive.
Slippy, you all right there, buddy?
Sure, hot dogs sound great right now.
Sonic for Hire Season 5 concludes with Fox McCloud and Falco returning to the Great Fox after their adventure on Earth, where they became movie stars. The two then try to kick Sonic out through a game called Space Chicken. Well, Sonic and crew inevitably lose and crash land back at Sonic's house, back where he started in Season 4. I still really like Season 5. I think its premise is really fun despite being super simple compared to previous seasons. The humor and writing is really funny, and the voice acting is super good. Definitely my favorite season so far. And it's immediately followed by what was my favorite season as a kid. So why don't we go ahead and see what's in store for us in Season 6 of Sonic for Hire. Sonic to the future! Sonic for Hire Season 6 continues with the sci-fi theme, with this whole season being about time travel, which is something that is really easy to overcomplicate and screw up, but I think Sonic for Hire pulls it off pretty well. This season wastes no time, and instantly gets right into the plot. After Sonic ruins the whole space thing, he's back at rock bottom. In fact, he's even lower than he was before! So he steals the Epic from Chrono Trigger, and goes back in time to convince Tails to make the right investments so they can be rich and famous in the present. It's a really simple premise, but it opens up so many funny scenarios for the writers to come up with. Like, we get to see Sonic and Tails in what is essentially a role reversal for a little bit, having Sonic be super rich and living in a mansion while Tails is poor and homeless.
Yeah, so I did everything like you said, but then f***ing Zuckerberg screwed me out of all my stock, and then I starred in this Spider-Man reboot, but now I'm living on the streets and giving tail jobs for food.
And at one point, Eggman steals the Epic from Sonic and changes the future so he becomes rich and famous, draining Sonic's bank account in the process. So then Sonic has to steal the Epic back to fix it. But then it's revealed that someone else stole the Epic from Eggman. This entire season is just balls to the walls, confusion, and insanity, and I think it's hilarious.
And not since Oedipus freed Thebes from the curse of the Sphinx has the... What? Oh, seriously? Dumb it down? Sure, I can do that, yeah. Not since Papa Smurf thwarted the evil Gargamel.
The comedy has gotten really good in these later seasons. I also really like how halfway through the season kind of focuses more on Tails, Eggman, and Earthworm Jim. Midway through the season, it's revealed that Sonic's time travel shenanigans have brought Mario back to life. With getting revenge on Sonic being his top priority, well, to make a long story short, Mario kills Sonic, and so we get a whole stretch of the season focusing entirely on the other three characters, which is a nice change of pace because they've all been kind of sidelined in the last few seasons. Season 6 actually kind of has three whole plots going on at once. There's the whole Mario stuff where he comes back and kills Sonic and pretty much takes over the world. There's the subplot about Tails, Eggman, and Jim where they keep procrastinating on saving Sonic.
Oh yeah, Mario kidnapped him. I'm sure they resolved their issues in a calm and mature fashion.
And then a third plot about Sonic's illegitimate daughter, Sonequa, as she tracks Mario down and tries to avenge her father. That sounds like it can be hard to follow, but the season manages to focus an equal amount of screen time on everybody, so nothing feels ever bloated or rushed. There's also a segment near the end where they mess up the space-time continuum so much that Tails becomes tall, Eggman turns into a baby, Jim turns into Yoshi, and Sonic turns into Wario.
Hold on, how the f*** are you alive? Nobody stopped you from dying.
Yeah, thanks for that, assholes. You know, I have no idea what happened. All I know is I woke up with Mario's cock in my mouth.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, whatever you guys did made Mario into a chicken farmer, and while I was sleeping, one of his roosters must have mistaken my mouth for his food dish.
That seems like a long way to go for a dick joke.
F*** you, Yoshi.
Forcing the four of them to figure out how to fix it. Season 6 has the most moving parts out of any of the seasons so far. It might actually be the most complex season of the whole show, because they don't ever do this multiple narrative thing ever again. I absolutely love Season 6. It's so much fun. Sure, I'm a bit biased towards time travel stories in general, but I think they really did pull it off here. Usually it can get kind of confusing if they try to over-explain everything, but they keep it super simple here, and it keeps the whole season feeling a lot more streamlined streamlined than most time travel stories, which then lets the writers focus more on telling jokes rather than trying to explain the whole time travel thing. And like I said, the jokes here are great.
Mario must have sent these guys to get you. He'll probably come back long and strong with another crew who are down to get the friction on. We should really think about bringing in some help of our own.
Thanks, narrator.
Cut to a new scene.
This is definitely still my favorite season of the entire show, and it gets really good near the end. So, when the gang gets all mutated and malformed, Tails gets the idea that they need to recreate everything that happened since the first episode of the series, in the hopes that this will revert the space-time continuum back to its original state. Well, it turns out that plan doesn't work, so they resort to killing their past selves before they even altered time.
Yeah, no, this isn't right. We gotta kill our other selves before things start to go crazy.
Kill what now?
Which also doesn't work, so the entire universe is starting to fall apart at the seams, and as a last-ditch effort to fix it, Sonic hits the reset switch on the Sega Genesis, which is now conveniently sitting in his living room, effectively resetting the timeline. But it kinda reset a bit too far.
Uh-oh.
And you're welcome.
Now with the universe effectively gone, I sure am curious how they'll get out of this pickle in Season 7 of Sonic for Hire. So I've alluded to the fact that this show turns into what is just essentially a long movie. Well, here we are. Season 7 is literally just one long continuous story where the characters follow a single solitary narrative throughout the entire runtime. Every single episode naturally leads into the next one every single time. There is literally no filler here. This is also the longest season in the series, and was originally intended to be the final season of the show, before they erroneously brought it back for 2 more seasons, followed by a lot of contrived legal issues that caused them to change the name, and I'll get into that later. At the end of Season 6, the writers kind of wrote themselves into a corner with the whole, you know. So how do they manage to get around this?
Who knew it would take 1 week to rebuild the entire world pixel by pixel?
Yeah, I'm also glad we agreed to never discuss the logistics of how we managed to do this.
Anyway, with things basically back to normal now, the gang decides to part ways and go back to their original roles in their respective games. But after the wacky adventure they just went on, they all get extremely bored of their old lives.
Come on, man. Let's have some fun. Maybe we can score some coke and snort off some rockin' tits.
Aw, no way, man. Drugs? Really? Who still does cocaine? And would your mother really appreciate you talking about women that way?
Forget it.
I'm gonna f***ing kill you!
And decide to just go back to Sonic for Hiring for a little bit, until really strange things start to happen to them. Elevator shafts start filling up with bricks. Girls begin to shapeshift, and now the TMNT want pad thai instead of pizza? Something is definitely going on here. The gang starts becoming suspicious that somebody has started messing with them, so they go talk to Wreck-It Ralph of all people, who tells them about this person called the Creator. So they all head out on an adventure to find this Creator character and figure out what's going on. Each episode basically has the group track somebody down, get given a clue on how to find the creator, and rinse and repeat for a few episodes. The structure of this season is really good.
Dracula told us to find the half-naked man, so naturally we're looking for Sir Arthur.
Yeah, that sentence makes 0 sense.
It manages to keep the plot moving at a super smooth pace from start to finish. Well, okay, maybe not finish. The pacing is pretty consistent up until the last few episodes, where they go to Gears of War and wind up in the real world and meet their voice actors. It is a cool idea, and it's always fun to see characters interacting with their voice actors, but here it feels extremely shoehorned and rushed.
And this guy doesn't even look like he can make a bed, let alone a sophisticated character like myself.
F*** you! And for your information, I don't have a bed. I sleep on the floor.
I mean, they even acknowledge in the episode that it's the quickest way to tie up the last few loose ends. The Cliff Bleszinski cameo was fun, though.
My Twitter handle is @TheRealCliffyB. F*** you guys!
Well, that went well.
What kind of genie doesn't grant wishes?
I've said it again and again, but the comedy in this season is honestly some of the best in the entire series so far. They are really getting the hang of comedic timing.
What happened?
Well, the lick fest got a little out of hand at one point, and they started licking me, and then they died.
My favorite gag is probably the Michael Awesome Bay joke.
Dude, I'm Michael Awesome Bay. I came here to kill the less awesome Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but looks like you did the awesome job for me. Now I can use my awesome alien versions and make the awesome movie I always awesomed.
It's also fun to see all 4 of the main dudes getting the same amount of screen time for once. They have a really fun dynamic, and it makes me wish we got to see them all together more often. Kinda sucks how that's never gonna happen again. Despite being the original finale of the show, I don't really have much to say about it. The comedy is great, the pacing is pretty smooth for the most part, and it's really fun getting to see the four main dudes all on screen together for once. I would comment on the animation or voice acting, but it's not much different. The animations are a little more bouncy and expressive here, but that's about it. If you couldn't tell, I'm kind of running out of stuff to say about this show, which sucks because we still have 2 more seasons to go through, and spoiler alert, they're both god-awful. One thing I did enjoy was the way a lot of the recurring characters got fun little send-offs that were all pretty fun and perfectly encapsulated the characters. Thunderhead was the first one to leave, and his last scene had him get wasted and turned into a zombie after trying to make out with one. He then gets married to the zombie, and they both live happily ever after. Next up is Link, who gets an entire episode focused on him, where he constantly makes fun of Tails and insists that he's gay.
Ew, no way, he was gonna do it. He was gonna kiss me in exchange for something. That makes you a hooker.
What? Damn it! Just give us the clue!
And finally throws a huge coming out party right before leaving the show forever. Then there's Jim and Eggman, who, well, I'm actually not sure if I can show it on YouTube, but...
Yeah, Tails, that sounds like a swell idea.
There's also Mother Brain and Sonequa, who literally get written off the show on screen. After Sonic and Tails meet their voice actors and receive the final clue to find the creator, Sonic finally figures out how to find him. The two of them go all the way back to the title screen of the show. Sonic then enters a cheat code to bring up the level select and selects the creator level and sends them to the creator. I haven't made a single part of this up, by the way.
The creator!
Oh, I'm not the creator. I'm Santa Claus. There's an awesome spa here, and I'm just chilling before my next treatment. Gonna get my toes did.
It's then revealed that in order to truly understand what was going on, Sonic must kill the creator, who was revealed to be Dominique Wilkins. So Sonic kills Dominique Wilkins, and you can't say it with a straight face, dude. So Sonic kills Dominique Wilkins and is subsequently forced to take his place, turning Sonic into what is essentially God, giving him the coolest job in the universe. You see what I mean when I said the ending feels a bit rushed? All of this happens in a single episode, which wouldn't sound too crazy if every episode wasn't like 2 minutes long at most. I'm not saying I dislike this direction. I think this could be a really fun way to end the series. Having Sonic start out at rock bottom and ending as a literal god is such an extreme opposite and honestly makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Yes, I am
It gives me crazy Conker's Bad Fur Day vibes, with how Conker ends the game becoming a king. But the reason that works, but this feels forced, is because Conker becoming the king is teased multiple times during the game. But here, this godlike creator character wasn't mentioned until the start of this season, and we don't even get to see him until the final episode, the episode where he's killed off.
Hey, Neek, why were you f***ing with us the whole...
He's dead, Sonic.
Yeah, hold on. Neek, why were you f***ing with us
He's dead.
the whole
You
time?
shot him in the head.
I
Sonic.
know, but there's like a buffer.
Sonic, there's no buffer.
Ooh.
I'm not saying they should have set this creator crap up at the start of the series as if they were planning it from the start. I mean, we're talking about Sonic for Hire here, but it's just super obvious that they had this idea of Sonic becoming a god, but didn't know how to get there. Either way, now that Sonic is god, I'm honestly kind of excited to see what kind of shenanigans he'll get up to in Season 8. The possibilities are literally endless. So let's get right into Season 8 of Hedgehog for Hire? With Season 7 coming to a close, everyone was led to believe that this was the actual, real finale of the show. Sonic is a god, Tails is God's secretary, and everyone else got a happy ending. So, where else do you go from here? Well, naturally, you move the show over to Rooster Teeth, change the name to Hedgehog for Hire out of fear of getting in trouble with Sega, and bring the show back with an extremely bitter and resentful undertone that completely undermines the finale of Season 7. If you couldn't tell, I don't like this season very much. Season 8 of Sonic for Hire begins with Sonic and Tails still in heaven, living comfortably as gods. Until one day, a new video game comes out. I highly doubt you've heard of it. It's called Sonic Mania. After hearing about this, Sonic becomes outraged, especially after hearing that Sonic and Tails were recast.
Wait, what? Another Sonic playing me as Sonic? But only me Sonic as Sonic, not other Sonic playing I as me.
You're right there.
So, fueled entirely by jealousy and anger, Sonic gives up his role as God so he and Tails can go back to Earth to get to the bottom of why they were recast. Which honestly sounds like it could be fun. Seeing Sonic have to deal with a younger, less bitter version of himself for the whole season has a lot of potential for funny bits. Can't wait to see it! Sonic kills them in the first episode.
Well, that was
erotic.
Yeah, I was actually going to say erotic.
After killing the new Sonic and Tails, the original Sonic and Tails decide to make their own video game to rival Sonic Mania and prove that Sonic still got what it takes to be a popular video game character, or whatever. So they get help from this guy called Morty from another lowbrow show called Morty Combat, where an accountant gets transported into Mortal Kombat. Please don't ask, it's a long story and I don't care enough to watch that show. Anyway, Morty helps them code their video game, until Earthworm Jim kills him and subsequently takes his place.
Okay, you're okay there, pal, right? You're okay. I've seen you get chopped in half. You're fine. You're definitely fine.
Nope. It only works when he's in the game. You're fucked.
Meanwhile, while he's eating a burger out of a dumpster, Eggman's long-lost evil daughter named Omelette approached Eggman with a plan to take over the universe. For those of you who don't know, Omelette is a fan-created character that was found in a sprite in Sonic Mania that people took and turned into Omelette. I think she's got a fun design, and seeing her featured in the show is actually kind of a cool idea, but also in the show, she's called Eggette for some reason, which is stupid because her name is Omelette, and I'm calling her Omelette. I refuse to call her Eggette, that's not her name. So the two of them kidnap Earthworm Jim, thinking that he's Morty, and task him with programming them superpowers so they can take over the universe. So Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Thunderhead, who is no longer a zombie, Kirby, Link, Peppy, and Slippy for some reason, and after he gets freed, Earthworm Jim, band together to stop Eggman and Omelette from taking over the universe. My God. That was a lot of stupid and convoluted plot points that were jammed into 20 minutes worth of content. This is definitely the worst season of the entire show, bar none. Like, it is genuinely a slog to sit through. Sonic for Hire has never been high art, but it's never been this bad. The entire season is just in one ear and out the other. Like, I just rewatched it right before recording this, and I can't remember anything that happens. Season 8 just doesn't know what it wants to do at all. Most of the past seasons had a specific theme they stuck to. Like, Season 2 had the bank heist, Season 3 was about the Mafia, Season 5 was space themed, Season 6 was time travel, even Season 7 had this single overarching narrative that kept everything super focused. Season 8 has none of that. It feels like it's 3 or 4 seasons stuffed into one. We got the stuff with Sonic and Tails getting replaced, the part where they try to make a video game, then there's the last third, which focuses on Eggman and Omelette doing evil stuff. It's as if they had all these grand ideas to bring the series back, and they just couldn't pick which one to do. So they just decided to throw everything at the wall and do it all at once, which results in the season having a horrible breakneck pace. There's literally no room to breathe, so there's not enough time to get genuinely invested in any plot thread. The season probably feels so bloated because it's only 8 episodes long, unlike the normal 13. Normally, I wouldn't mind the lack of a cohesive plot because it's freaking Sonic for Hire, but not even the humor can save this one.
Carry the 2, adjust for wind speed, and click yes!
What the f is this?
It's a dancing baby!
The humor in this season is just like not there. Like, not even saying it's bad, it's just they don't tell many jokes over the course of the season. Or it's more likely that the jokes were so horrible that I couldn't even tell they were jokes. There were a few select gags that genuinely got me to laugh, like the recap bit.
What the hell happened? Why are you guys back?
There's no time. You can just click here for a recap.
Or even the stupid pink dildo joke.
That's not me, that's a big pink dildo.
What? But it drove us here.
But a majority of the season feels like it's trying too hard to be overly absurd and random, with jokes like the stupid Ninja Turtles gag, Slippy killing himself, and the incessant hating on Jim for some reason. That's another reason this season feels so weird. Everyone is acting so out of character this time, and it's genuinely kind of infuriating. Sonic feels pretty much the same, but now Tails is super dismissive towards everybody, and he just kind of mopes around, not doing anything.
Haven't seen Earthworm Jim anywhere. I'm sure he's living it up like—
Don't care, f*** off!
Eggman feels pretty much the same until he meets Omelette, and then he does a full 180 to trying to be evil, until the end where he spares Sonic and isn't evil anymore. And then there's Jim. Jim is so out of character here. He was typically the voice of reason / stick in the mud, who always complained about the stupidity of everyone else. But now he's basically the group's wet blanket. He's constantly getting berated and pushed around this season, and he gets super insecure when Morty shows up and quote-unquote takes his place, despite Jim never being the group's tech whiz guy, so I don't understand what he's talking about. On top of the bad writing that we just talked about, the season also just doesn't look as good as the others. First off, the show is animated in a lower frame rate for some reason, and I don't think you need a smooth frame rate to make your animation look good. That's a ludicrous thing to say, but here it doesn't feel like it's on purpose, if that even makes sense. Usually you can tell when it's on purpose for a stylization thing, but here it feels more so like it was an error with exporting, as if they finished the episode and everything and then accidentally exported it in a lower frame rate than they were supposed to. It inadvertently makes all the movements look really stiff and floaty. I also noticed quite a few errors with the sprites they were using for some characters. Now, this is getting into nitpicky territory, but I don't care. I'll never get a chance to point these out again. Firstly, Popo and Nana from Ice Climbers have a stray pixel on both of their faces, like in the corner of their faces for some reason. It's more noticeable on Popo because it's blue instead of pink, but it is on both of their faces, and I can't figure out why. Saniqua's eyes are the wrong color. They're also two different colors now. Also, Omelette has a random transparent pixel on her forehead, and I would be lying if I said it didn't genuinely distract me every single time she was on screen. Season 8 overall is just a really unfun time. The story is all over the place and has no idea what it wants to do. The writing is horrible. The jokes are either extremely mid or non-existent, and the animation is probably the worst it's ever looked. I genuinely don't understand why they even brought the show back. I can't imagine there was much of a demand for the return of Sonic for Hire, especially because they started a new show called Morty Combat. I guess they noticed that nobody really cared about that show, so they brought Sonic for Hire back and shoehorned Morty into it as a way of promoting it, but then they instantly killed Morty off, so I don't know what they were trying to accomplish with him. Do you see what I mean when I say they don't know what they wanted to do with this season? Oh god, this video is supposed to be a quick little side project, not like an actual video analysis. Anyway, let's get season 9 out of the way. I don't need to do a clever transition or anything. These two seasons aren't connected in any way.
We're going to college!
Alright, so you remember that joke from like season 7 or whatever?
That doesn't stop college graduates from foolishly thinking they can get a job, right?
Yeah, we're going to college!
No, we're not going to college. At least not this season.
Yeah, it's not a joke anymore. Season 9 is arguably the most disconnected season from the rest. Every season so far has been connected to the last in some way, but this time they just erroneously decided to go to college for some reason. And I'm not gonna lie, I kinda understand what they're trying to do with the college stuff. Like, Sonic is still unequivocally a loser, and after stepping down from being a god forever, he still lives in his dingy apartment from season 1, so his situation hasn't changed all that much. But his outlook on life has. In season 9, Sonic wants to be taken seriously for a change, which makes him want to go to college. But apparently, getting into college requires hard work, which Sonic doesn't want to do.
You better f***ing believe I'm putting in the hard work.
All right, let's start getting some applications.
So Tails takes him to go see Mario, because he's the biggest donor to Console University. The two ask him to help them get into college without having to do any of the work, and Mario agrees to let them into the school as long as Sonic uses his super speed to win some championships to make the university some money. Oh, also Jim and Eggman tag along because Jim is a legacy at Console University and Eggman has tenure there, so he goes back to start teaching again.
I'm off to the teacher's lounge. Eggman, cool exit to the left.
You shattered my legs!
Don't worry, it's cool. I used to teach here.
Oh, and Knuckles is there too, for some reason. The rest of the season basically follows Sonic, Tails, Jim, and Knuckles as they try to adjust to college life by going to parties, joining a frat, participating in prank wars, and even falling in love. And Eggman kind of just doesn't do anything the whole time. I don't know why, but Eggman pretty much gets replaced by Knuckles as a member of the main cast, which I'm not actually opposed to. I just think it's kind of weird because Knuckles being there kind of just comes out of nowhere. Like, they spent all this time setting up why Sonic and Tails go to college, and then they give a reason for Eggman and Jim being there, but then Knuckles just shows up at the dorm, and he's just like, hey bro, I'm here now. Ooh, Friday night. I do like him though. They end up pairing him with Jim for most of the season, having them pull a hangover together and spending 3 whole episodes trying to retrace their steps and figure out what happened.
You don't think?
We both hooked up with super hot co-eds, passed out, got unhandcuffed from the co-eds, and then a responsible person handcuffed you and me together so we wouldn't do anything stupid like drink and drive, and then they brought us to the quad because it's the most central location of both the dorms.
Hell yeah!
Season 9 kind of dabbles in the multiple narrative thing that Season 6 did, though Season 6 did it way better. The majority of the season is focused on Sonic trying to win whatever championship he's doing for the college, but while at a party he ends up in a big accident that hurts his back, making him incapable of spin dashing, so he's forced to figure out how to win without being able to spin dash, despite the fact that Sonic is just able to run quickly. He doesn't have to spin dash to whatever. Who cares? Whatever. Meanwhile, Tails is having an identity crisis due to having to adjust to college life, and he spends the whole season switching between different stereotypes. One episode he's trying to be the college party dude, the next episode he's trying to be the soulful guitar guy who sings songs about how he feels. It's decently entertaining, but I think it takes up way too much screen time for this season. Also, meanwhile, Mario ends up getting killed, so Eggman decides to investigate to try and figure out who murdered him. Then on top of that, there's the Jim and Knuckles hangover plot that I mentioned earlier. I appreciate the ambition to have multiple plots going on at once, but I don't think it works this time. Season 6 managed to pull it off pretty well, because they spent equal time on all of the different storylines, but here they don't have nearly enough time to properly focus on all of these plots. Sonic's story feels extremely rushed and unfinished, because they spend so many episodes at the start just screwing around not doing anything. And Eggman's story is basically non-existent. Like, they genuinely have no time for him. They literally point that out multiple times this season.
And I stumbled on an interesting paper trail. You see...
Eggman, I gotta stop you there. We got a lot going on this season. We don't have time for your storyline.
It's like they think it's okay if they point out the fact that it sucks, which it's not. Actually, this is probably the most meta the show has ever gotten before. That's kind of the main form of humor this time around. The characters are constantly pointing out how horribly rushed the stories are. In fact, the characters complaining about how they don't have enough time for Eggman is a primary running gag that they bring up multiple times an episode. It can be funny sometimes, but after a while it starts to feel like it's just a crutch for lazy writing. I hate calling it lazy because I know how much work goes into something like this, but I can't think of any other way of describing it. Though, the joke about Luigi's new voice actor was actually kind of funny. It cracked me up a little bit.
Hello, boys.
Hey, what happened to your voice?
Yeah, everybody keeps asking why your voice is different now. What's up with that? Like, I don't even hear it, you know? Yeah, I don't hear it either.
Whenever they aren't relying on meta jokes, they usually resort to using the absurdist humor we've come to expect, and it's actually pretty funny on occasion.
Check it. I'm Provolone Tony and I'm here to drink, but first I gotta...
Oh, I could do that.
I love the stupid harmonica bit. It might genuinely be the funniest gag in the entire series. I'm not even joking.
Oh, man. Where'd you get that harmonica? Wait, did everybody get harmonicas?
I don't know why, it just cracks me up. Despite most of the season feeling like a mixed bag, there are quite a few ideas here that I genuinely enjoyed. There's a part where they join a frat house and begin a prank war with the X-Men.
Hold up, man. That is too far. That bucket could have hit him right in the head.
There's an episode where Tails falls in love with a Pokemon trainer who winds up using him for Pokemon battles.
Gyarados is charging. Oh, shit!
And near the end, there's a part where Sonic gets discovered by Dr. Wily for being a secret genius, and then he ends up stealing his wallet.
Thanks, Wily. Gotta go see about a Chinese woman.
Son of a bitch stole my line. And my wallet. Fuck, I didn't bring lunch today. I was going to buy a sandwich. Fuck.
Unlike Season 8, it felt like they actually enjoyed working on this one. Sure, the quality dips here and there, but there's no bitter undertones, no pointless shoehorning of useless characters, and no mention of Omelette anywhere, which I think is just an outright improvement on its own. I don't really have much to say about this season, seeing as how it's not actually finished yet. As of working on this video, there are only 9 episodes in total. Normally, I would wait until the season was finished before I did this, but if I did, then the video probably wouldn't come out for another 15 months. Whenever Season 9 premiered, they released the new episodes pretty regularly, up until episode 8, where they kinda just stopped uploading them. Then, an entire year later, episode 9 finally released, and I'd be willing to wait for the rest of the season, but I don't want to wait another year before I can finish this video. Anyway, Season 9 wasn't nearly as terrible as I originally thought. It's definitely nowhere near the best, but it's nothing like Season 8. I think the reason this season is more enjoyable, despite feeling so bloated, is because it actually has a set theme, unlike Season 8. Sure, it feels confused and a bit bloated at times, but at least they knew what they wanted to do with this one. It's definitely a bit of a mixed bag. The comedy is super hit and miss. There's way too many narratives going on at once, but the college stuff is actually pretty fun. I like the prank war, I like the idea of the hangover plot. There's a lot of stuff here that is good, there's too much of it. Feels like they jammed a whole season's worth of ideas into this, even though it's only the first half. But I wouldn't be lying if I said I wasn't looking forward to the next episode. I might actually decide to give the rest of the season a watch once it comes out in 30 years. Well, after rewatching the entirety of Sonic for Hire, I can 100% say that the series as a whole is just kinda alright. It definitely has some standout moments that make it super memorable, like the entirety of Season 5 and 6, which is where most people usually agree that the show got really good. But looking back on it, a majority of the show is just extremely okay. I think it's still a lot of fun, and I do rewatch it myself on occasion whenever I randomly remember it, but I wouldn't say it's something everybody should go out of their way to watch, especially not Season 8. That season was genuinely dreadful. If you do ever watch the show, just ignore that one and jump straight from 7 to 9. Sure, Sonic would be going from living in heaven to attending college, but at least it's funny. And when it comes to Sonic for Hire, isn't that all that really matters? Well, now that this retrospective is over, it's time for me to start working on my 7-hour deep dive analysis on Mega Man Dies at the End. Trust me, that ending will shock you.
We could call ourselves the Blue Dudes. Just think about it for a second.
God, this video took way too long to make, and it ended up being way longer than it was supposed to be. If you somehow managed to stick around till the end, I greatly appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed the video. This was just supposed to be a quick little trip down memory lane, but as per usual, I wound up biting off more than I could chew, and for that, I deeply apologize. I know it's been literal months since the last video. I've just been super busy juggling work, life, and this whole YouTube thing. And on top of that, I passed 2,000 subscribers while working on this video, which is absolutely insane. I thank each and every one of you guys for supporting me, and I apologize for going radio silent for about like a 10 months, if not 11, probably a year at this point. If you're ever curious where I'm at in between uploads, you could join my Discord server, which the link will be in the description like it always is. But we opened it to the public a few months ago and have built up a pretty nice little community there where we talk about video games, movies, and TV shows, as well as just casually hanging out in the voice chat quite often. I'm super active in there and give updates on my projects pretty frequently, so if you want to keep note of what I'm up to if I go radio silent again, you can just join in the link in the description like I mentioned earlier, if I don't forget to put it in there. Alright, shameless plugging over, time to do some shoutouts real quick. Huge shout out to my friend 8-Bit Brit who drew the amazing thumbnail art for this video. Her art is absolutely amazing and she streams on Twitch pretty regularly. Y'all should definitely go check her stuff out. She's on Twitter and Twitch. Both of those should be on the screen right now. As well as the guy who drew all 9 of the emblems for the season transitions, Jammo Art on Twitter. He did an amazing job with these. They all look amazing. You should go follow him too. And finally, a shout out to you, loyal viewer, for watching this whole video. Alright, I'm gonna try and upload more regularly, because I hate having freaking a year between uploads. It's just, I'm terrible with procrastinating. I'm sorry. It's not an excuse. It's just a freaking fact. Anyway, I've rambled on for way too long. I just wanted to address all of that real quick. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye!